So, right now I'm watching a documentary called The Curious Case of Natalie Grace. It rhymes. And I'm seeing something really interesting. This lady, Christine Barnett, she seriously gives me strong communal narcissism vibes. What I mean is, she likes everybody to know that she's the wonderful mom of the century. When her son was given a medal from the Vatican, because apparently her son's a genius, and he got a medal from the Vatican, she wrote a book and made it about herself. And when he got probably too big for her to control and use for public accolades, she needed someone else. So she adopted a special needs Ukrainian kid so that everybody could tell her how wonderful she is for taking this child in. The problem is when you adopt somebody with that level of maintenance, you actually got to put a lot of extra effort in, and I don't think she was anticipating that. So instead, she wanted to villainize the kid so she could legitimately get rid of the kid. So she triangulated. Usually triangulation in families only happens in a small scale, like it's in the family. Like your mother, if she's a narcissist, will tell your siblings that you're a horrible person and send them as flying monkeys to bug you. But in this case, this lady wanted to be famous, right? So she made it a grander scheme, and she made it like the movie Orphan, and she tried to build all these narratives around how this horrible child is a horrible sociopathic child without any real evidence. Like, come on, give me a fucking break. You're scared that this little, what is she, like 25 pounds? And she's a dwarf, okay? She's a dwarf who can't even stand straight, and I'm not saying that to be ableist. I'm saying you see the girl walk. She doesn't have a steady gait. She needs either a wheelchair or a cane. And you're telling me that you are afraid for your life with this child in your house? This little person who can barely like open a freaking door? And you're saying that she's going to do up? No. The truth of the matter is the mom's the sociopath because she's like, oh, I adopted this special needs kid that requires too much of me. I want to get rid of her, but then everybody's going to look down on me if I do that. What do I do? Oh, I know. I'll just tell everybody she's a psychopath. And then I'll have a perfect reason to get rid of her. I think that's what she did. She's a fucking sociopath. Now, there's another instance that I just been reading up on, completely on the other side of the story here. A different story altogether. This woman by the name of Diane had opened up a channel on YouTube called Estranged Parents. Now, it's becoming more and more common that therapists are recommending to adult children that if communicating with a parent that causes you trouble, that causes you mental anguish, if that continues to happen, you should probably cut contact with them. Now, that can be understandable. Let's say, for example, your mother is abusive or your father is abusive, and every time you talk to them, you go on a drinking bender. There's a good chance you probably should stop talking to them. You should. You should cut them out. And then maybe one day, if you're strong enough to be able to resist their bullshit and not let it trigger you, you can talk to them again. But if every time you talk to them, you go on a drinking bender or it throws you into a spiral, you shouldn't talk to them anymore. You should cut them off. Some people do it formally with a letter, and they do that so that they can have the peace and closure of, saying what they need to say and say, I'm not talking to you anymore. Here's why. And then some people will just cut off contact and don't even explain. It doesn't matter. Bottom line is these children are adults and they're making a decision to cut off contact. Now, this woman clearly did not like the fact that her daughter, this woman named Diane, Shimmy, I don't give a shit. She made an entire YouTube channel dedicated to trash talking her daughter who cut contact with her. By spinning this whole narrative that the only reason why my daughter cut off contact with me isn't because I did anything wrong. It's because we live in a society. She's literally quoting a meme as the excuse for why her daughter doesn't want to talk to her. That is, again, similarly to Christine Barnett, triangulation on a grander scale, where you got a grandiose narcissist who loves getting attention, who loves having everybody tell them, oh, you're wonderful, oh, you're good, oh, that person isn't satisfied with just alienating the scapegoat in the family. They gotta televise this shit. They gotta make it public. And that's what Christine Barnett did against Natalia Grace, and that's what Diane is doing with her daughter. Her daughter's name is Haley. I don't know her full name. I don't want to know her full name. I don't even think this poor girl, deserves to be put in the spotlight. What Diane did was disgusting. She made a support channel, which now she's collecting money for it, okay? She's collecting money for this. For parents who have been cut off and estranged by their evil children. Well, let me tell you something. If you're going to run around calling your kid a narcissist, guess what? Narcissists raise narcissists, and the apple don't fall far from the tree, sweetheart. So if you got a problem with the way your kid's acting, look in the mirror, okay? Because that's where they learned it from. Kids come in this world pure, blank slates, with no shit on them, and mom and dad will come and take a crap right on top of the slate. They don't even use a marker. They just take a crap, just pop a squat, and drop an amber turd right there in the middle of the slate board. And then they wonder why. Their eraser is dirty. Sweetheart, you did this. You took a squat and you popped it and you dropped a log on the slate of that child's being from day one. So if you don't like the way that kid turned out, okay. Now, as far as Natalia Grace is concerned, she's been shit on from day one because she was in another country. She doesn't know her mom. Her mom, by the way, was born in 1970 something. So like the math doesn't add up in Christine's story. Her mom would have had to given birth to Natalia at the age of 10. Okay? Which stranger things have happened, but it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. The mom needed to have a way to villainize this kid so she wouldn't have to take care of her anymore. It's like a Tamagotchi that you turn on and you wish you could just take out the batteries, you know? This lady's a monster. I'm sorry. She's a monster. She adopted this kid as a fashion accessory. And when it required a little bit more maintenance from her, she decided to go on a public campaign villainizing this poor child just so she could be cruel to the child and have the excuse to dump her. Now, I'm only one episode in to Meet the Barnetts, and I'm triggered to fucking all. And I am just telling you, this reminds me of Diane on another scale. These are two women who don't see children as people. They see children as fashion accessories for their own dirty-ass ego. You don't have a kid as a pet, people. Yeah, they're cute and cuddly when they're little, but you know what? That cute and cuddly person could be the next Hitler when they grow up. Or they could be the next Benjamin Franklin. They could be the next Albert Einstein. They could be the next President of the United States. You know? Kids are not toys. Kids are not pets. Kids are not fashion accessories. They're not there to make you look good. They're not born in the world with a job of taking care of you and making you feel like you're somebody, okay? So if you have a kid or adopt a kid with that idea in mind and the kid grows up to have a mind of their own and you don't like it, or the kid doesn't cuddle you and smooch on you because they came from the freaking streets of Ukraine and have mental health problems, guess what, Buttercup? Deal with it. You know, I don't understand why everybody is allowed to have reproductive organs. I think that let's create like a sci-fi society where like you have to apply for a parenting license. I think we should bring that in. Yeah, that's totally like 1984 shit, but hey man, then you don't get shit like this happening.